Finish every sentence that you were about to say. Here's the biggest thing that happened to me is I had lost X amount of fights by submission in the second round, right around 7 minutes of the fight, dominated up till then. I go, this just isn't physical. I got a mental problem, and I'm finding out where it's happening. So I treated it like an alcoholic, where the first thing I had to do was admit I got a problem and ask for help. And I went in and saw a guy, a sports psychology guy. One of the huge things that I realized that everybody's going through it. I used to think there was something wrong with me. I used to be really embarrassed about it. And I talked to Randy Couture about it. And Randy said that the one thing that he learned is that he could never defeat it. He could never defeat the second guessing or the negative voice in his head. And that he just learned, I just got to learn to compete with it. I can't kill this off. I got to compete with it.
When doubt seeps in, you got two roads. You can take either road. You can go to the left or you can go to the right. And believe me, they'll tell you failure is not an option. That is ridiculous. Failure is always an option. Failure is the most readily available option at all times, but it's a choice. You can choose to fail, you can choose to succeed. And if we can plant seeds and let him know, move your feet, keep your hands up, stay off the bottom, that is the road to victory. Or self-doubt and negative talk, and that is the road to failure. But failure is always there, and it's okay to recognize that.
And if I can leave you with anything today in my own journey through this, it's one, it's okay, and two, it's normal. And as athletes, and especially as men, as male athletes, we hate to admit weakness, even to ourselves. And when you're dealing with something, you get some kind of a hiccup, first thing, acknowledge it, like you just did. The only thing that changes is the environment. Just to give you guys an example, it's a very, very famous study done. This gentleman brings in a long 2x4. He sets the 2x4 down and has a group like this, and he asks random people to walk the 2x4 heel to toe. So they lay the 2x4 on the mat, everybody gets up, and they walk it like it's no big thing, right? Big deal. He brings in 2 big step ladders. He hangs the 2x4 across the ladders and he asks them who's ready to walk it. Nobody raises their hand. The environment changed, but the act doesn't. And on game day, environment changes. Why? Because they put a referee in there, make you take your t-shirt off, they bring in Uncle Dana. It's the same thing, it's the same 2x4, it's the same ring.
I apologize for this being short, but I wanted to cover a couple positions. We always end up in an over and under, whether we want to be there, whether we force it, or we end up there defensively, or we end up there on accident. We got to know what to do there. Okay, and we also have to know how to protect ourselves there. Don't start leaning over, you open for knee. We always end up in a singlet. If I panic, that gives him an opportunity. I need to realize he does not have my leg, I've got his hands. I got his hands, okay? Got to change your mindset. Guys, I'm so happy that you're here. I'm so happy that you guys care about this sport, that you care about your gym, and that you came. Something that happens in competitions, especially in ones like we're all in, especially where it's one-on-one, and there's no team, and there's no pads, and there's nowhere to hide, is people don't participate for the fear of failure. Guys, who cares about that? Don't get caught up in fear of failure. You'll miss out on everything. You won't get the grades you should get. You won't apply to the schools you should get into. You won't apply for the jobs. You won't get the interviews. You won't ask out the girls you want to ask out. You won't do anything you want to do. You'll be so worried about failure. Get past that. It doesn't matter. And set your goals high. You gotta talk about, I want to be the UFC champion. And then you think about it, you go, oh man, that's too hard. I can't do that. Well, then back it up a little bit. Back it up a little bit. Put yourself in a position where you know you're successful. Okay? Let's say you're going to fight a guy in the UFC. You go, oh my goodness, the lights, the camera, how am I going to do this? We'll back it up a little bit. Are you the toughest guy in your street? You the toughest guy in your street? So if that guy moves onto your street, you know how to follow his rules? Are you not the second toughest guy in your street if he moves into town? Of course not. He's not going to beat you for the toughest guy on the block, then he's not going to beat you Saturday night in the octagon. And if you go back, maybe you live on a tough street? Huh? The toughest guy in your house? Look at this guy comes over. All of a sudden, he takes the remote control. He's holding the bag of Doritos. Of course not. He comes into your house. You're the toughest guy in your house. So if he's not going to beat you in your living room, he's not going to beat you Saturday night in the octagon. If you've got a tough family, maybe you've got to back it up a little bit. You the toughest guy in your bedroom? You the toughest guy. Hell yeah. And if that turkey comes over and he walks through the door, all of a sudden you've got to give him the covers and sleep on the floor? Of course not. He can't beat you in your house. If he can't beat you in your living room, if he can't beat you on your block, he can't beat you Saturday night in the octagon. It's the same thing. Woo! You got to get that through your head at anything in life. Welcome, Coach. Welcome. So get that through your head, and don't ever be afraid to fail. Yeah, what is afraid to fail? Don't want to try anything. Don't want to try anything. It's a two-man sport. Somebody's going to win and somebody's not, and that's fine. We like those terms. We agree to those rules. We will agree to those rules every day, but we will never refuse to participate because we're scared to fail. Shake somebody's hand before you leave. Stick around as long as you want. Thank you all for coming.
What drives you to continue to put your body through this to compete?
You know, I only have one goal in this. I'm not in it for the fame. I'm not in it for the money. I'm in it for the accomplishment. I wanted to be world champion since I was a little kid. I wanted to win the Olympics, win the world championship. And I used to watch Sugar Ray Leonard fight. And I'd go put on my black trunks and tape up my hands and come in the kitchen and throw a bunch of punches in front of my mom. Tell her I was going to beat up Sugar Ray someday. And that wasn't to get on TV, and it wasn't to get money. That was, I want the belt. I want to be world champion. I want, you know, one day, one moment, one night, best in the world. And that's what it's all about for me. Every day, that's what I think about. You know, I think about the new guys coming in. I think about the current guys that are here, the veterans. And you got to beat them all. You got to be ready to beat them all. Every style, every guy, every man alive, if you want to be world champion. And there's just no time to waste. You can't waste any time. If you watch this video, if you're watching right now, and you're motivated by something I'm saying, change your shoes, get out the door right now. Don't waste any time. Don't do it tomorrow. If you got a habit, you want to drop your habit, drop it right now. Don't think I'll do it next week. Don't wait for a resolution of some sort. Don't waste any time. Start right now. That would be my biggest advice. But that's what drives me. You know, I've got a goal. You always want to set a goal, and then set your little goals to achieve the big goal. And you know, being consistent and being driven, and good things will happen.
Okay? Don't just watch that. I want you to watch how these guys are warming up. I want you guys to watch what these guys wear when they're warming up. Are they just out in shorts and a t-shirt? Or are they in sweats? Do they have a stocking hat on? Are they just bouncing around? Or are they running sprints up and down the hall? Are they sitting in the stands waiting for their name to be called? Or are they grabbing a partner and working on their technique? Those are the things I want you guys to pay attention to. When they get taken down, do they stay there and hope? Or do they come up off the mat, turn around and face the guy and keep trying? A champion, a tough guy. You know, you'll hear that a lot. It's the biggest compliment you can get. When I'm done competing, I want to be known as a tough guy. Yeah, that was a tough guy. Yeah, those are the guys I look up to. The guys where it doesn't matter what the score is, they're going hard the whole time. If they're behind by 100 points or they're ahead by 100 points, they're going hard the whole time. They're trying to get one more. They're ahead by 100, they want to be ahead by 101. If they're down by 100, they're going to close that gap to be down by 99. Those are the guys that I personally look up to. Those are the guys when I get on YouTube at night, I'm looking for those tough guys. You know, guys like John Smith and Chael Sonnen, the Schultz brothers. Tough guys closing that gap that are grinding for them. So young guys, please pay attention tomorrow to the little things, not just who's getting their hands up. How do they prepare? Do they listen to their coaches? When things aren't going well, do they start to fall apart with their body language?
or do they stay in the fight? Do they stay in that fight? As soon as you start to get tired, as soon as you start to get behind, as soon as your coach starts yelling at you, a lot of doors open up quick. You got to find out one reason to stay in that battle. One reason to stay in the fire and fight.
Belts were white. They were made out of cotton. They were all white. But over time, whoever worked the hardest and was there the most and sweat on it and whatnot, his belt would get darker. So you could walk into a gym after guys had been there for about 10 years and you kind of look around and whoever had the darker belt was going to be better. Now, he's going to be better because he'd put more time in, he got more sweat on it, more dirt, but that's how the darker belt came. So then they actually started calling, okay, well, the darkest belt is black, you're the master, and so on and so forth. But it started to happen very organically. And I thought you'd appreciate that story, but I bring that to you because Clayton was a black belt. He was a master of motivating you. And the guys that I know that were the best, the guys that I looked up to or that got to where I was trying to get, one thing that they did better than anybody else is they just stayed around. They just wouldn't stop. They kept coming back and they kept coming back, and it takes time. It's this really long race. And one of the great ways to get to the top is to just not stop because of so many they drop out. And Clayton was good at making you want to come back tomorrow and making you want to come back tomorrow. He would just motivate. The rest and the training and the skills would take place as a byproduct. He was a master of getting you to want to come back. And that's a very hard sport. You know, when you're talking about MMA, boxing, wrestling, anything like that, that's very hard. If you're tired, if you've had a long day and you know I got to go spend 2 hours getting punched, I mean, it's a really hard thing to get into the car and make that drive and grab your gym bag and make that walk and change your clothes and get onto the mat. You got to be motivated. Clayton was a master.